Journey to the West, an audio drama series. Chapter 16, Part 2. We speak of Sanzang and his disciple who were already resting in bed. Xingzhe, however, was a magical monkey. Although he had lied down, he was still preserving his spirit and cultivating his breath with half-open eyes. Suddenly, he heard people continuously running outside, accompanied by the crackling of firewood and wind. Growing suspicious, he thought to himself, "It's the quiet of the night. Where are these footsteps coming from? Could it be bandits here to harm us?" He rolled over and hopped up. Just as he was about to open the door to have a look outside, he feared that this would wake up his master. Look at him playing a magical trick. With a shake of his body, he transformed into a bee. Equipped with a sweet mouth and poisoned tail, he took off with a tiny waist and light body. And what he saw was the monks gathering firewood and straw around the hall, preparing to set it on fire. Xingzhe quietly laughed to himself. Master was right. They really mean to harm our lives and steal our kashaya. They came up with this vile plan. I would hit them with my rod, but the poor things don't stand a chance. A few swings would be enough to kill them all, and Master will once again blame me for murdering. Never mind. I shall just play along with their scheme and make sure they don't have a place to live either. Splendid Xingzhe! With one somersault, he leapt up to the southern gate of heaven. Stricken with fear, Generals Pang, Liu, Gou, and Bi crouched their bodies, while Generals Ma, Zhao, Wen, and Guan bent their backs. They all exclaimed, "Disaster! Disaster! The fellow who wreaked havoc in the heavenly palace has returned." Xingzhe waved his hands and said, "Spare yourselves the formalities, all of you. Don't be scared. I am here to find Heavenly King Volupaksh." Before he could finish, the Heavenly King has already arrived. He greeted Xingzhe and said, "It's been a long while since we last saw each other. Earlier I heard that Guanyin Bodhisattva came to see the Jade Emperor. She borrowed the 4 chroniclers of time, 6 gods of the ordinal Ding, 6 gods of the ordinal Jia, and the guardians, saying they are to escort the tongue monk to the West Heaven for scriptures. She said you became a disciple of his. Where did you get the time today to come here?" Xingzhe answered, "This is no time for chat. The tongue monk came across some wicked people on his way. They planned to start a fire and burn him to death. This is extremely urgent, so I came specifically to borrow your fire-repelling cover to save him. Hurry up and give it to me. I will give it back to you right away." The Heavenly King asked, "You must have made a mistake. If wicked people are starting a fire, you should borrow water to save him. Why use the fire-repelling cover at all?" Xingzhe answered, "What do you know? If I save him with water, the fire won't start. Wouldn't that be doing the culprits a favor? I just need to borrow the cover to keep the tongue monk unharmed. As for the others, who cares? Let them burn. Hurry up. It might be too late already. Don't you delay my business down there." The Heavenly King laughed and said, "You monkey are still up to no good. You only look out for your own and couldn't care less about the rest." Xingzhe urged, Be quick. Don't you dare chatter on and ruin what's important." The Heavenly King dare not turn him down, so he handed the cover to Xingzhe. Xingzhe took it and rode his cloud all the way back to the roof of the hall, where he had the tongue monk, the white horse, and the luggage covered. He then went to the back and sat on the roof of the abbot's room where the elderly monk was at, so that he could protect the kashaya. When he saw the monks start the fire, he made a hand gesture and recited the corresponding spell. He then sucked up a mouthful of air from the southeast direction before blowing it back out, creating a gust that sent the fire spinning and burning all over the place. Splendid fire! Dark smoke roamed, and not a single star could be seen above. Red flames soared, and the earth was lit up in the color of scarlet. It started out like golden pythons and later bloody horses, as if all the gods of fire were there to display their powers, as if boiling oil were rolling across the doors. Certainly, fire itself has no motives, but you cannot deny there was the intent to kill. No desire to mitigate disaster, only to continue on and make it worse. The wind followed the direction of the fire, blowing the flames up high. The fire borrowed the strength of the wind, puffing dust beyond the clouds. Like firecrackers, like cannons, it burned on. No Buddha statue could run away, and no resident monk had a place to hide. This was truly the tiny sparks of fire that could burn through huge swaths of land. Within moments, the wind went wild and fire fierce, painting the entire Guanyin monastery bright red. Look at those monks as they scramble to move boxes and baskets and grab tables and pots. Agonizing cries could be heard from all over. Sun Xingzhe had the back room where the Gashaya was located protected, while the fire-repelling cover shielded the hall at the front. Everywhere else was engulfed in burning flames bright enough to light up the skies in red, enough to shine golden beams through the walls. What no one expected was that when the fire started burning, a monster in the mountains would be disturbed. Just south to the Guanyin monastery, about 20 li away, lied Heifeng Shan, or Black Wind Mountain. In it was a Heifeng Dong, or Black Wind Cave, where a monster lived. He woke up and rolled over to find light shining through his windows and doors. He thought it was already dawn. But when he got up to have a better look, he saw it was the blinding fire burning from the north. The monster exclaimed in shock, "Good heavens! It must be the Guanyin monastery caught on fire. These monks sure are careless. Let me go have a look and help them out." Splendid monster! He rode on clouds right away and came below the smoke and flames. It was truly a towering fire. The halls and rooms were all emptied while the corridors burned. In wide strides, he burst inside. Just as he was about to call around for water, he saw that the back room was not on fire, and there was a person on the roof who was blowing wind. He saw what happened and was hurrying inside to have a better look when he spotted a colorful aura emitting from the inside of the room. Right on the desk lied a bundle wrapped in dark blue felt. He unwrapped it to find a brocade Gashaya inside and saw it was an extraordinary Buddhist treasure. Wealth moves minds, as we say, and so he neither helped extinguish the fire nor call for water, but instead took the Gashaya and committed a robbery by taking advantage of the chaos. In cloudy steps, he made a straight turn to the east mountains and left. That fire burned all the way till the 5th watch and finally died down as dawn broke. Look at those monks, naked and crying, all trying to dig out scraps of metal from the ashes. Some set up makeshift shelter at the corners, some tried to cook next to barren walls, and many more were complaining and arguing with each other. We speak of Xingzhe, who took the fire-repelling cover and, with one somersault, went up to the southern gate of heaven. Handing the treasure back to Heavenly King Virupash, he said, "Thank you for lending me the item. Thank you very much." The Heavenly King took the cover and said, "You're quite the honest man, great sage. I was worried that you would not return the treasure to me, and I would have nowhere to look for it. I'm so glad you gave it back so soon." Xingzhe said, "Was Elder Sun ever the type to con things from people right in front of them? This is what we call proper return after proper borrow. Borrow again is assured no trouble." The Heavenly King asked, "It's been a long while since we saw each other. Why not head to my palace and sit down for a bit? How does that sound?" Xingzhe answered, "Elder Sun isn't like his old self anymore. Can't be wasting my days away chatting. I'm tasked with protecting the tongue monk and haven't got a moment of leisure. We'll chat next time if you don't mind." He quickly bid farewell and dropped on his cloud, just in time to see the sun rising. He came straight back to the front of the hall. With a shake of his body, he transformed into a little bee and flew inside. When he returned to his original form, he found his master still sound asleep. Xingzhe then said, "Master, it's already morning. Wake up now." Only then did Sanzang wake up and rolled over, saying, "You're right." He got dressed and came out the doors. Quickly looking up, he found only red, collapsed walls, but none of the buildings and halls from before. Shocked, he asked, "How come the halls and buildings have all disappeared and only red walls are left?" Xingzhe said, "You are still in your dreams. There was a fire last night." Sanzang asked, "How come I did not know of it?" Xingzhe said, "Elder Sun kept the hall protected. The master was in deep sleep, so I did not disturb you." Sanzang said, "If you had the power to protect the hall, why didn't you help put out the fire in the other rooms?" Xingzhe laughed and said, "That was the only way to show you, master, that you were exactly right yesterday. That old monk fell for our Gashaya and plotted to burn us to death. If Elder Sun hadn't noticed what was going on, you would have turned to ashes by now." Sanzang heard him and asked in terror, "Did they start the fire?" Xingzhe said, "Who else could it be?" Sanzang asked, "Is it because they slighted you that you did this as revenge?" Xingzhe retorted, "Is Elder Sun the lazy type who does nasty things like this? It is really them who lit the fire. I saw through their evil hearts, so I did not help them put it out, only adding a bit of wind for them." Sanzang said, Good heavens. When a fire breaks out, you should only help with water. How could you add more wind?" Xingzhe said, "Haven't you heard that ancient saying? When a man has no intent to hurt a tiger has no desire to hurt a man. If he didn't start the fire, why would I start the wind?" Sanzang then asked, "Where is the Kashaya? Don't tell me it's been burnt." Xingzhe said, Don't worry at all. It can't be burnt. The room where the Kashaya was kept was not on fire." Resentfully, Sanzang said, "I don't care what you did, but if the Kashaya was damaged even a little bit, I will just recite that spell and it will be the death of you." Panicking, Xingzhe said, "Don't recite, master, please don't. I'll go get the Kashaya back to you and it will be the end of it. Let me go retrieve it and we'll be on our way." Only then did Sanzang take the horse as Xingzhe picked up the luggage. They exited the hall and went straight for the back room. We speak again of those monks who, now floored with sorrow, suddenly saw the master and disciple coming forward with the horse. Terrified as if their souls left their bodies, they yelled, "The wronged souls have come for our lives!" Xingzhe shouted, "What do you mean, wronged souls coming for your lives? Give us back the Kashaya." The monks all kowtowed in unison, saying, "Dear lords, every injustice has a culprit like every debt has a lender. It shouldn't be our lives that you are coming after. This is all Guangmo and the old monk's plan to kill you. Don't come for our lives." Xingzhe cussed and said, "What a bunch of low lives worthy of death. Who even is coming for your lives? Just give us back the Kashaya so we can be on our way." Among them were two braver monks who asked, "Elders, you should have been burned to death in the hall, but now you are here asking for the Kashaya back. Are you really humans or ghosts?" Xingzhe cackled and said, "You sinful creatures! What fire is there to speak of? Go forward and have a look at the hall before asking us another question." The monks got up on their feet and went forward to check. Indeed, the doors and windows outside the hall was not burnt even a little bit. They were shocked and terrified, realizing finally that Sanzang was a divine monk and Xingzhe his guardian. So they all came forward and kowtowed, saying, "We have eyes but no pupils, failing to recognize gods arriving at the mortal world. Your Gashaya is in the back room with the old patriarch." Sanzang then walked past several layers of fallen walls, sighing sadly. And indeed, the back room was not on fire. The monks rushed in and shouted, "Gramps, the Tang monk is a divine man and was not burned to death. We instead wrecked our own household. Do take the Kashaya out quickly and give it back to them." It turned out that the elderly monk could not find the Kashaya as he witnessed the buildings in his own temple caught on fire. Just as he was deeply anxious and distressed, he heard the other monk's words. And where could he even find the courage to respond? Running out of options and seeing no way to escape this dilemma, he strode forward, bent his back, and rammed his head onto the solid wall. How pathetic! Smashed broken, his brains bled as his soul dispersed. His breath was lost in the throat as the ground was dyed red. We have a poem as testimony, which says, "How sad is this old monk, so foolish and blind. pointlessly becoming an aged man of his kind, lusting after a gashaya for a future heirloom, not knowing Buddha's treasure wasn't anything you can find. Mistaking a quick fix for what could last, he was bound to lose, and failure came. Of what use were broad wisdom or strategy? Harming others for gain was nothing but a battle in vain. Panicking, the monks cried, "Grand Master has rammed himself to death, and the gashaya is nowhere to be seen. What shall we do?" Xingzhe said, "You people must have stolen it and hid it somewhere. Come out at once, all of you. Open up your registers and let Elder Sun check one by one." The heads of both upper and lower chambers then presented 2 lists detailing every monk, dudu, servant boy, and laborer in the temple, all totaling to 230 individuals. Xingzhe invited his master to the honored seat while he called names one by one from the start of the list. Everyone had to open up their clothes and have every belonging accounted for, but there was no gashaya. They then searched all the boxes and baskets taken out from the rooms in great detail, and still there wasn't a trace. Sanzang was becoming quite irritated as his bitterness towards Xingzhe grew, so he started reciting that spell from his seat above. Xingzhe suddenly dropped to the ground with his head in his hands, begging in unbearable pain. "Please stop reciting, please stop. I promise I will find the gashaya." The monks saw what was happening and shivered with fear. Only when they prostrated themselves to plead did Sanzang close his mouth and stop reciting. With a flip, Xingzhe hopped up and took out the iron rod from his ear. He was about to hit the monks when Sanzang shouted, "You monkey head! Aren't you afraid of headaches and still want to act out now? Don't get violent, and don't you hurt anyone. Let me interrogate them further." The monks kowtowed to Sanzang, imploring, "Spare our lives, Elder Lord. We really have not seen it. This is all that dead old bastard's fault. He was looking at your gashaya and crying into the late night. He didn't even have the courage to look at the thing, only thinking of making it last as an heirloom. So he schemed to burn you to death. When the fire started, a wild wind began blowing. Everyone was focused on putting it out and rescuing our belongings, so we had no idea where the gashaya went." Xingzhe was mad with anger and ran into the back room. He carried the body of the dead old bastard outside and stripped him naked for a better look. The treasure wasn't on him anywhere. They then dug under the room to a depth of 3 chi. Still, not a trace could be found. Xingzhe pondered for a moment and asked, "Do you have any monster spirits in your area?" The abbot answered, "If you hadn't asked, you would have never known. To the southeast of here lies Blackwind Mountain, and inside its Blackwind Cave lives a black-great king. Our dead old bastard often discussed religion with him. He's a spirit indeed. There is no one else." Xingzhe asked, "How far is that mountain from here?" The abbot answered, "Only 20 li. That peak which you can see from here is the place." Xingzhe smiled and said, "Master, stop worrying. No more discussion is needed. It must have been stolen by that black monster." Sanzang asked, "His place is 20 li from here. How do you know that is him?" Xingzhe explained, "You didn't see the fire during the night. The light roamed across great distances and the glow shot up through the skies. You could see it from 200 li away, let alone 20. It must have been him who saw the fire burning, took advantage of the situation, and sneaked in. He saw that our gashaya was a treasure, so he stole it amidst the confusion. Let Elder Sun go look for him." Sanzang asked, "Who can I count on while you're away?" Xingzhe answered, "Don't you worry. In secret, deities are here to protect you. In public, I will have those monks wait upon you." He then called the monks over and instructed, "Send a few to bury the old bastard and another few to serve my master and watch over my white horse." The monks nodded. Xingzhe then said, "Don't you give me a casual yes as reply, but refuse to serve when I'm gone. Those who look after my master must put on a cheerful and pleasant face. Those who feed the white horse must give it water and hay in the right proportions. Should anything go wrong in the least, my rod will give you an example of the consequences." He then took out the rod and aimed at the burnt brick walls. With a single stroke, It was smashed to pieces before shaking down another 7 or 8 layers of walls. The monks saw this and were all weak to their bones as their bodies grew numb. Kowtowing in tears, they said, "Dear Lord, do head out without worry. We will do our genuine best to serve the elder. We dare not mistreat him even a little bit." Splendid Xingzhe. And so he quickly summoned the somersault cloud and went straight for Black Wind Mountain to find the Kashaya. We do not know whether the Kashaya can still be found, or whether this will turn out for better or worse. Please wait until the next chapter.